Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. Now more so than ever, the would-be judges, the 144,000 that are to be the judges of the whole earth, right? As the kingdom of heaven is set up here on earth by Yahushai, who the world fraudulently and falsely calls Jesus Christ. All right, and to the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations. This is not a black only thing. All right, the Israelites were scattered among all people and are going to come looking like all people as a result of that fact, of that action. And to the few Akwaf who are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with part 2 of Loaded Speeches, Schemes of Projection through Underhanded Tactics equals Western Politrics. All right, politricians, or not politicians, but politricians. But yeah, I want to read this scripture real quick, and then I'm going to play a video that I was holding on to finish this thing out. And actually a couple scriptures. First one being Isaiah 10:1, and it reads, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and write grievousness which they have prescribed." So they write all these grievous laws that really do hurt people. Matter of fact, verse 2, "To turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless." All right, and this is what they do. Per example, when countries have certain resources that that the West wants, they overthrow them. They set up coups. They set up puppet leaders, and if that country moves forth in any way whatsoever to incentivize or nationalize that product, that service, that resource, all right, that they may achieve any sort of autonomous wealth for their own people. All right, because Africa, for example, is still the wealthiest continent on the planet. Yet they're some of the poorest people. Why? Because all of the wealth, the majority of the wealth from Africa is controlled by pale people. All right? And that's just a fact. And now that you have different African nations that are standing up to that, all of a sudden they're terrorists and they're, and they're this and they're that. And, well, they basically get labeled all sorts of things in the Western media to give the excuse to dehumanize them, to give the excuse to go in with the military and take some shit that clearly doesn't belong to them. And this has been the modus operatus of Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, and the world sees it now, and many people are speaking this way, talking about these things. Just like the world is looking everyone's looking sideways and squinting, that dirty look, that squinting look at the B.B. Milkowski here and his people, right? And it's just a matter of time. Many people are saying it already, all right? But it's just a matter of time that mainstream is going to be forced to admit that these people are the frauds that they are, okay? Because they are indeed frauds. But let me go and pull up this video. Yeah, this was the one I was holding on to. It's by Total Hypocrisy. And before I let it play, let me read one more scripture. Because I spoke on this. I didn't show the video, but she's going to you have to go back and watch the first video. But basically, I talked about how they how they market their stories. And they have these college educated people. They use marketers, people who learn how to market products, to sell products, and they sell speeches in the same way. All right, with loaded statements. All right, the loaded statement is a very deceitful statement that's used to hide something. Right. Matter of fact, let me get that Isaiah 29:15. Then I'm gonna read that loaded statement again. And here we go. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh. And their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us? Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed of him that framed it, he have no understanding? So you can't fool the Lord. Neither can you fool the watchers of the Lord. Like the scripture says, you will not be able to fool the very elect. All right. Those are some of the people. And the fact of the matter is, you're not fooling a lot of people anymore. Edom's his biggest strength has been secrecy, and that secrecy has been taken away. All right. He's been exposed. All right, so without any further ado, I was going to read that definition first. Salakia. All right. And here it is. It's the definition of loaded statement. I screenshotted it. I'm going to put it up in the screen so you can see it. Because this is what they do every day in the media. This is an AI overview. Loaded language refers to words or phrases that carry strong emotional implications and influence an audience beyond their literal meaning. All right. The words evoke positive or negative reactions, often used to persuade, manipulate, or appeal the emotions rather than the logic. And make America great again. Weapons of mass destruction. Iran is close to making a bomb. Every 10 years, this has been said pretty much by the same person that you see on the screen and others. But they give these long, elaborate speeches that just completely demonize and make them feel and make themselves seem as they're the victim or they're the champions for justice, when it's all projection. It's all deceit. It's all lies. It's all a scheme. All right. An underhand attack to persuade people to believe in a lie, basically. All right. So with that being said, now I'm going to play her video. Make sure the sound is up.
It's going to be a bit of a longer one, but I hope you'll stick around because this image is significant from last night when Donald Trump addressed the nation after we found out that we had bombed Iran. Now, why am I able to speak on this? Well, because I have a master's degree in communications, specifically focused in public communications, and I work as a marketing manager, and all day, every day, all I do is plan content and decide how things need to appear so that the eye can be trained in such a way that encourages people to buy into a service. This image shows us exactly who is running the country, and that is the Heritage Foundation and their associates. See, J.D. Vance, he was a nobody. He literally was a nobody, a never Trump guy who was bought and paid for by the Heritage Foundation. That is why he became the vice president nominee and is now our vice president, because they needed a talking head, someone who was maybe unknown, didn't have too much of a background out there in order to get their job done, to destroy the United States and build it from the ground up into some form of Gilead. They literally wrote a whole entire book about it called Project 2025. Which, by the way, the foreword down there was written by Kevin Roberts, who also wrote Dawn's Early Light, which is a similar book to Project 2025, its foreword written by J.D. Vance. And it's my assumption that the Heritage Foundation knows that bombing Iran was not good on a global stage and was not a good look for the United States, despite them wanting to destroy our nation. So look at the symbolism and look at how this is set up specifically for your viewing pleasure. Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary, are all wearing the same uniform, if you will. Blue suit, white shirt, red tie. They look like a uniformed front. They literally look like cookie cutters of each other in terms of their outfits. Donald Trump is a fucking moron of a president who is a talking figure who distracts from what the Heritage Foundation is truly doing behind the scenes. All you have to do is look at the headlines that Donald Trump produces versus what is listed on Congress.gov as actual action happening at our federal government level.
Wow.
Marco Rubio is a sellout. He can be bought and paid for because all he really wants is power. He, again, was a never Trump guy. He is the son of 2 Cuban immigrants. He's the firstborn in the United States, yet he is encouraging and helping to carry out all of this horrible and atrocious
because he was born in Cuba,
policy.
he's not Manasseh.
He understands that he's not charismatic enough to become president of the United States, and so this is as good as it was going to get for him. Pete Hegseth, another sellout who just wants power. He is a talking head from Fox News who is loyal to Donald Trump no matter what he does. He had a failed military career. Even his own unit spoke out against him during 2020's inauguration of Joe Biden. They said that his behavior was too extreme, he had concerning tattoos, and it was too much of a risk to have him at that event. And J.D. Vance is the Heritage Foundation who is absolutely on purpose separated from the other 3 amigos here. He's not only separated physically, but he is also not wearing that uniform. He is not being part of that unified front. He's wearing the blue tie with the white shirt and the suit. Not only is he physically dressed to be separate and physically placed to be separate, but during the speech last night, he made these faces.
Capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
And he makes that face at such a strategic point in the speech. Listen to the words again.
A stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's
It reads as opposed, confused, not aligned, perhaps not even in agreement. And that's because the Heritage Foundation picked him, a young nobody who didn't have much dirt on him other than the fact that he said, "I was a never Trump guy." Because they knew that this guy, old and not in good health, thus opening the door for the Heritage Foundation to have the presidency to hold at least the executive branch for up to 8 years. That is, if they're playing by the rules. You're gonna sit there and tell me that this dude looks to be in good health? This is from yesterday, from the Situation Room. His hair long, he's been wearing the hat more often, not just from a branding standpoint, but I wonder truly if he is sick enough that he is losing his hair. This is entirely intentional, every little last bit of it. Even look at the spacing here.
So, things like this are done often by Esau Edom, and I've heard a couple different people speak to the fact that they really want J.D. Vance to take over because they can control him and rule over him, as Trump is being ruled over by B.B. Milkowski and AIPAC and et cetera, as he's causing this divide within MAGA, because now you got Marjorie Greene Taylor, speaking out against him, and many of the other MAGA supporters, which is all leading up to this civil war, which is all prophecy, that you're going to have a race war, a civil war, and right along with this economic collapse and world war. All these things are on the table, and they're all happening. They're all happening. So I'm going to read that again, that Isaiah. They're trying to hide what they're doing, and they use the same playbook over and over again. But this is Isaiah 29:15. Woe to them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us? This is Luke 12:2. And it reads, for there is nothing covered, there shall not be be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. So there's nothing that they can do. The Lord has given the men of the Lord, the prophets of the Lord, the ability to understand the prophecies and filter what's going on in the world with the prophecies. And all the end day prophecies are actually, they're starting to walk right off the page. This is Amos 3 and 7, right? It says, and surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. His servants are it's definitely not the people who went and got degrees from seminary schools. Those aren't prophets of the Lord. Those are people that teach for filthy lucre's sake the doctrines of men. All right? Because when all these seminary schools went up, the books were sealed. All right? The books were not unsealed until the awakening. And and if you're not talking about the awakening, the awakening of who? The Israelites. So, but yet this book is going to be for other people. All right? Ezekiel 37, the Valley of the Dry Bones, is the awakening. And it happened here in America. Right around the time that they went into to the heavens and said the eagle have landed. America's been and that was around 1969, 1970. America has been on been spiraling out of control down to its destitute place where it is now. All right? And that was around the time when the truth came back into the world, just as it was prophesied. Remember, Ezekiel 36, 37, and 38 are very important to end day prophecies. All right? And they all played out. Esau in Ezekiel 36 and 5, you can read verse 2 as well. But in chapter 36 of Ezekiel, the Edomites take the land of Israel. 37, chapter 37, the awakening of both the northern and southern kingdom, the two sticks being joined together, that 12 tribe sign, which is a very important part of prophecy. All right? That would happen before the kingdom before the kingdom of heaven comes. All right? Before the coming of the Lord, there will be a group of men who awakened that will put up a sign and go out on the highways and byways and present it to the world. All right? That was done by the Hebrew Israelites, not the Christian churches. Okay? And thirdly, Ezekiel 38 chapter, Gog and Magog and the war of Armageddon in the valley of Jehoshaphat, Joel the 3rd chapter. All right? And all the other prophets that speak about it, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah. It's all throughout the scriptures. Even Peter, spoke about the day of fervent heat. All right? All through the book of Revelation. We're in that time. All right? This man is being exposed. And he's only going to get so far with his schemes and his underhand tactics, from his projection. Always getting on TV talking about the axes of resistance and terror acts and all that stuff. It's that the biggest terrorists on the world are always calling other people terrorists. They're so worried about bombs. The only people that's constantly dropping bombs on people is the West. All right? The so-called white man in America is the only ones who's ever so worried about. Why are you worried about some people that's never dropped a bomb on anybody or until now? All right? But never dropped a nuclear bomb on anyone. All right? Versus people who've been dropping bombs all along. Make it make sense. All right? So with that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKadosh, Kwam Yasharala, Abad Babal.